Right then guys, welcome to part number 2 of the Q&A. We're going to get stuck in with the questions once again. I've got the trusty phone here, ready to go. Yes, it's going to be a long one this, I can feel. So yeah, here we go. Back into the questions. Then we come to Crystal Racing, again a great guy that I've known for years on the channel, really nice guy, always loves a chat, always puts himself in the comments, and he asked 3 questions. His first one is, will Shalala ever win a driver's title with the Prancing Donkeys? Not at this moment, will he? Not at this moment. I hope he does. I really do hope he does, and I hoped it were going to be this year, but obviously that's gone by the by now. But yeah, I hope he does, but I don't think he will, is my answer with that one. The next one is, do you think Kimi was the outright best driver during F1 in 2003 to 2007? Well, I did mention that, didn't I? Funnily enough, I said about 2003 Kimi should have been champion. I think he drove really, really well. I just think he had the bad cars at the time. The McLaren was there, ready to win a championship in 03, didn't happen. 04 was unreliability, if I remember rightly. 05 was a decent year for him, but the likes of Nürburgring, where he didn't pit for that tyre to get changed, he lost 10 points there. That was a bit silly. 2006, the car was good, but again, reliability. And then 2007, he wrapped up the title, didn't he, with Ferrari. So, yeah, do you know what? Genuinely, I'd be tempted to say yes at that point. I think he'd had a rough few years. In 2007, he richly got what he was deserved because he was cheated a few years previous. So, yeah, definitely. Kimi, 2003 to 2007, was he the best driver? I'd be tempted to say yes, to be honest with you. I think, given the machinery, had you probably put him in a Ferrari, or had you popped him in Alonso's Renault alongside him, he'd have probably beat him. So yeah, I'd be tempted to go with that, actually, thinking about it. Yeah. And then, who's better, Albon or Gasly? Ooh, I mean, based on this year, I'd be very tempted to go Albon, because Gasly has had a shocker for AlphaTauri. I'm not convinced the car's all there, and it's not been as good as it has been previously, but he's been so inconsistent and terrible at times. Albon's done the best job he can at Williams. If we're going back to the Red Bull days, I think they both did incredibly well at the Toro Rosso era. But Alex didn't have long at Toro Rosso, did he? Whereas Gasly had a little bit longer. But I think, you know, Albon, he made that mistake in China, wasn't it? In qualifying 2019. Smashed the car to bits, started last and gained a point there. Finished 10th, and I think that was a mammoth effort. So I think both have got the merits. When it comes to the time in the Red Bull, Albon got longer and Pierre didn't get as long. So it's very difficult to say, because if you'd given Pierre the same time that Albon did, would he have been delivering the results when Albon was still struggling? And vice versa. It's very difficult because there were, although it looks like the same career path, it was very different in terms of the amount of time at Toro Rosso versus the amount of time at Red Bull, etc., before the demotion, promotion. But I definitely think Albon's come back as a new man after his year out. Great guy, absolutely love him to bits. And Pierre Gasly, I think this year, is signed for AlphaTauri again for next year. And I think he's lost his mojo, because I really think, and I really thought, and I think he thought, there'd be a shot at him at McLaren there. But that door firmly shut, and he's just kind of like, yeah, I'll just take the money now, thanks lads. And signed the dotted line for AlphaTauri again, and I don't think he's going to be in the appeal like he would have been from last year. You know, if last year he could have signed for someone else, or at the start of this year could have signed for someone else for next year, the hype would have been there. Whereas I think this year, if it keeps being flat like it is, he's going to struggle. So yeah, they're very good questions. Thank you very much, Crystal Racing. Leo Wilson asks, I'd like to ask, how do you rate all the F1 games from Codemasters? Which ones did you enjoy and which ones did you absolutely despise, and why? I've got to keep this brief because that's probably an entire episode in its all to be in its entirety, to be fair, Leo. That will probably take me forever to answer. The F1 Codemasters games I did enjoy: F1 2010, F1 2012, F1 2019 was a good one. 2020 wasn't bad, and that's probably about it, actually. I think they were probably the best 4 out of the lot of shit that we've had. 2011, handling was wank, absolutely diabolical, like fucking sending a boat round a corner. Whoop, whoop. Like, since when has an F1 car ever done that? Ridiculous. 2013, it was okay, but it just seemed a bit arcadey. 2014 was diabolical. Should have been on the new platforms and failed dramatically, so then just dumbed it down too much to squeeze it onto a PS3 disc. 2015, as already mentioned, it was half a game, shite, once deleting from history. 2016 wasn't bad, but I just felt it a bit too easy in the single player stuff. 2017 I smashed up, I couldn't be arsed with that one. 2018, again, just lackluster, Control Alt Repeat as I call it. 2020, 21, the handling model of 21, and 22, you know, yeah, 22 is just EA, isn't it? So there we go. Do you think do you think F1 games' future will be bright after EA bought Codemasters? No. Microtransactions, and more microtransactions. That is the future of Formula 1, and that's a load of shit. So yeah, unfortunately I don't think it's bright now. I wish Codemasters would have kept a hold of it and not sold it to EA, the greedy bastards. Question 3. Is electronic music popular in your area? Do you like listening to electronic music such as trance and house? Not for me personally. Very much no. That's not my kind of scene at all. I'm more of a rock, pop, indie kind of vibe. So no, not for me personally. And to be fair, I don't know if there's anywhere around here that would do it because I don't like it myself. So I'm sure there'll be some electronic, trance and house music venues around our area, but I don't know them because I'm not into the music. He asked 4 questions as well. I said 3, Leo. 5 F1 drivers you dislike of all time. F1, bloody hell. Marzi Spin, for definite. Who else don't I like? Come on. There's probably a few somewhere along the lines. Difficult to say dislike though, isn't it? Like, I used to throw that word around a lot and I was like, I don't know them as people. Marzi Spin for definite, and he's like the pinnacle of the bellends, isn't he? Tosser Rossi, he was a knobhead, wasn't he, back in the Tyrrell days where he was absolutely diabolical and failing to qualify for things, just causing animosity there. He was a bit of a dick. Who else we're going for? There's just people that were so undeserving. I think that's the problem. Money got them in. So I'm going to say, you know, I know there's a lot of pay drivers. I know Checo's still technically a pay driver at Red Bull, you know, but there was a lot of people that bought their way into Formula 1, especially in the 90s and 80s, that really, 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 really shouldn't have ever been on an F1 grid, let alone a GP2 grid, F3, you know. I don't think they deserved anything, but yeah. Difficult to set 5 actually, but Marzi Spin for definite. Yeah, I'd want to set 5. So we'll just leave it at Marzi Spin and have that as an unanswered question. Sorry, Leo, I can't think of 5 off the top of my head. And if I were to think of 5, it'd be unjust to the other 4. KTM Milner says a few questions. So thank you very much for your questions, Kyle. Massively appreciated, and as always I've known him again for God knows how many years now, quite a few. If you had to watch one motorsport series, what would you choose? Can't choose F1. Oh, that's easy. So there's only one motorsport series I can remain watching. British Touring Car Championship. Absolutely love it. Question 2. When will you declare your dying love for Lance Stroll? Probably next season. And one race you want to watch F1 at? Mexico. I would love to be in that baseball stadium with all the crazy Mexican fans chanting Checo, 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 with all their Nacho Libre bloody masks on, the wrestling masks and everything. I'd love Mexico. Genuinely would love Mexico. So yeah. That's 3 quick questions there. Bloody hell, thanks Kyle for those. I smashed that one. The next question comes from Ewok Junior Racing. I think that is how you spell it. He has featured on the channel quite a lot, but I can't remember the last time I saw him in the comments. So thank you very much. He has one question. What's your best and worst drunk experience or any moments that you can remember? God, I don't get that bad all the time that I can't remember everything. Best drunk, worst. I suppose worst was when it was New Year's. It was 2020 New Year. And I'd gone out with a few friends for a few drinks, and I think I ended up having my drink spiked. And I don't know why, because I can't remember. I remember getting in the taxi and then to come home, and then I can't remember anything else until I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I literally just spewed up. I couldn't even move. All I could do, like, I felt paralysed, and all I could do was just move my head like that and just throw up all this black shit that came out. God, it was awful. I threw up all over the floor. It was a right mess. Yeah, I had my drink spiked. I wasn't well for about 3 days after, and my friend I went out with as well. There was 3 of us that went out. 2 of us got spiked, and he was worse than me. I think he was out of it for about 5 days. Took me about 3 days to recover. Took him about 5 days. That was awful, that. And we'd had such a great night as well, and totally ruined it. And I don't know why they bothered to spike us drinks, whoever it were, because like I said, it weren't as if we'd had his wallets nicked, or, you know, we got robbed or anything, or they weren't after anything. Like, I think someone just spiked us for the laugh that night. They got some left over and thought, we'll stick it in their drinks. So, yeah, watch your drinks on nights out. But that's the only time I've been spiked, and that I wouldn't. Awful, absolutely awful experience. But ruined a great day. It was a brilliant night out up until, like I said, I just can't remember getting home. The best experience though. Best experience is when any alcohol's free. Whenever any alcohol's free, I'm normally there. The Christmas parties I used to have with the airport, they used to be brilliant. Great laugh, free bar, and then there's like nothing left at the bar, and like there's only a bottle of wine. Like, oh fuck it, I'll have a bottle of wine then. I don't even drink wine, but I'll drink it because it's free tonight. Yeah, so they're probably the best ones is when any booze is free, or someone's paying you for drinks for night, like birthdays and stuff. I had a really good birthday one actually back in 2018. Where the DJ gave me a bottle of tequila, and he went, neck all that or you're paying for it. So I necked it all, and I was really, really drunk on that night. But yeah, really, really great night with some great friends that night. So that's probably my best birthday party as well. I've had best birthday night out. So yeah, best ones are when it's mainly you're not paying, and the worst one was when I got spiked. Fredo Racing says, how is the Lego shed getting on, and will there be an update? Yes, Fredo, the Lego shed is still up and standing. There's no update because we've not done anything to it at the moment. We've got some more shelves in, but no more Lego models on it. In fact, this time around now, we've not really bought much Lego recently, actually, at all, because I've been mainly spending money on concerts and my car shows and things. So Lego's has to take a little bit of a back seat at the moment, but when there's a significant update, of course there'll be an update. We do need to still build that roller coaster that's in there, and there's a few other things that we've got ready lined up to build. It's just finding the time to build it. So thank you very much for that question. It's nice to see that the Lego shed was loved. Yeah, appreciate that. But yeah, there will be an update once there's a significant update, but I can't see that being anytime soon, I'm sorry to say. Maybe the next... could be maybe into the beginning of next year. If I get quite a lot of Lego for Christmas or something like that, maybe then I'll do an update again. But yeah, thank you for your question and your continued support. Next questions come from Sander, and they say, hey Josh, hope you're doing well. Seems your equipment is working again. Yes, it is indeed, I hope anyway. My questions. What would be your perfect F1 team if you could compose it from the last 30 years? Chassis, engine, livery, drivers, team principal, sponsor. Bloody hell. Bloody hell. Wow. I mean, chassis at the moment, you've got to realistically say the Ferrari chassis of now, haven't you? If we build, I mean, from the past 30 years though, like, what would be a competitive car from the last 30 years? You're probably going to have to go then, I'd go ground effect. I'd go 92 Williams or something. Yeah, I'd go 92 Williams for the chassis. Engine, I would stick a... whose engine would I pop in there? I'd definitely stick a V10 in. Yeah, I'd stick a V10. What did Williams have? Renault that year, weren't it? I'll probably keep with that Williams vibe. So I'll have a V10 Renault engine in the back of my 92 Williams chassis. My favourite livery was... I like the Under Earth liveries that they did in 2007, 2008. I know a lot of people hated them, but I really like those. So I'll go for the 2008 Under Earth livery. People are cringing at me, I know. Drivers, I would go for Ayrton Senna and Michael Schumacher. We'd have a big budget. We'd be splashing the cash. Team principal, I would go for... who would I have as team principal? I'd go Ross Brawn. I'd go Ross Brawn for team principal, because he did wonders with Brawn that 1 year it was in existence, didn't he? And a main title sponsor. Who would I have as a main title sponsor? Let's have a think. Who could I have as a main title sponsor? I'd probably go Shell or someone like that, so I can get my petrol for free, because that's all I fill up with. Yeah, I'd probably go for a big brand like Shell, or maybe like music venues, like a music venue kind of thing, like O2's, and like O2 could have like O2 Academy Sheffield and Nottingham and everything written all over the earth design. That'd be quite nice. I'll go for that one. There we go. Which place anyone must see when visiting Yorkshire? I only know the place from the Bradford Ripper and the Crucible Theatre, Sheffield. Yeah, Crucible's a great place, actually. So, places that are definitely must see when visiting Yorkshire. You've got to go to York, see the cathedral there. That's absolutely wonderful. There's also the Shambles and all the little rat runs and things. The really old stuff there in York. Really, really nice. Closer to home for me, though. Let me have a think. Where could we go closer to home? The thing is, when you live nearby things, you take a lot of things for granted. Don't really appreciate them. So I'm going to say Conisbrough Castle. Conisbrough Castle is really local to me, and it is one of the most intact castles in the UK. A lot of school trips go there to go see it. It's got floors still in it and stuff, whereas quite a lot of castles now are shelled out. But yeah, Conisbrough Castle is wonderful, and what they do on Poppy Day, they light up the side of the castle and have the poppies and like fallen heroes and soldiers on the side. It's absolutely stunning when they light that up. Really, really is a sight to behold. The first year they did it was about 3-4 years ago, and it was stunning, and they've kept it going ever since. So yeah, I'd definitely say Conisbrough Castle, a local attraction that we just take advantage of, drive past it every day, don't even bat an eyelid. But I think to a lot of people, if they went and saw that, I think they'd really appreciate its history and how much of it is actually left. There's quite a lot of the wall as well that used to go around and protect it. It's amazing actually how much is still there. So yeah, I'll say Conisbrough Castle. What's your opinion about the budget cap these days in Formula 1? The budget cap for me, I think, is the right thing to do. You've got to stop it somewhere, and you've got to try and close the gap between the main drivers, teams and drivers, as well as the lower field. Because, you know, yes, you can say you're artificially closing the gap by putting the cost cap on things, but at the same time, why is it fair that someone's got an unlimited budget? Of course they're going to win. Of course they're going to win with an unlimited budget, you know. And then you're going to have teams that are literally, you're going to see a lot more teams fall by the wayside if the budget cap wasn't brought in, because there's more manufacturers coming, the independent teams leave. You know, there's no Force India anymore. There's only really Williams, and even then that's a consortium. You know, so there's not much privately run left there. The Alfa Romeo's still Sauber, but if you didn't bring the cost cap in, they wouldn't be able to last much longer with the likes of what Ferrari, Red Bull and Mercedes are spending. No other team on that grid, even McLaren, don't have the kind of money that those three teams have got. They've got an infinite amount of money to sling at it. There needs to be a cost cap to slow it down. Thank you very much for your questions. Robbie T asks, what editing software do you use when making your YouTube videos and your thumbnails? So, I use a VSDC editor. It's a free editor that you can use. And yeah, it works quite well for what I need it for. I'm not claiming it's anything special, but it does the job. It's free. It's very simple to use. If you wanted it for anything more complex, it's probably not your job. It's not the ideal thing. But for mine, brilliant. And the YouTube thumbnail maker I have is Canva, Canva. And they have loads of stuff, not just thumbnails, but you can make channel art on there. And it's all, again, free to use. You just have to set up a free account, and you've got an abundance of things that you can use, and tools and everything. Really good for free. Really, really good for free. So they're the two I use. Question 2. Do you think that the majority of people, myself, you and the lads included, have been brain rotted a bit too much by literally everything that's currently going on around us? Yeah, definitely. I think it's all a load of bollocks what's happening at the moment. You know, it's... I don't know where to go with it all, to be honest with you, Robbie. I know where you're going with that. Yeah, it's the whole thing. Like, we're getting brain rotted by fucking news channels and outlets that are just doom and gloom, doom and gloom, doom and gloom, and I can't be dealing with it. I've not watched the news at all this year, and I feel a hell of a lot better for it. And then you've got the animosity and all this shit now that comes with Formula 1, like the F1 Twitter fucking brigade, that can't seem to like a driver and have respect for other people's opinions. And it gets very tiresome, and that's why I don't really use social media that much these days. On Twitter, I just tend to retweet things now. But yeah, I think we've got a nice little niche here, haven't we? So, yeah, Robbie, we are being brain rotted, but you can ignore it, and I do. Question 3, very random question to ask, but do you have any tips or advice on how to do video essays? Been thinking maybe in the future to do in-depth reviews, reports, or analysis of content that I enjoy watching. Great idea, to be honest. I think it's a great idea, and if you like it, go for it. But I personally wouldn't know where to start with video essays. But I suppose if you're commentating over a video that you've already seen or someone else's project, or, you know, I suppose it's not going to be that difficult to do at the same time, but I wouldn't know where to start with it, Robbie. But yeah, if that's something that you're into, bloody go for it, pal. Yeah, go for it. Absolutely go for it. Roger, with a little emoji of a penguin there, says, hello, my questions are, what is your most expensive diecast? See, there's 3 questions here, and I think they're all going to form under one car. So, I'm going to go and get it. So, there you go. That is all the questions answered with that one model. It's a 2010 Motorbase Stephen Kane British Touring Car model. Limited to just 1 of 3. I apologise for the dust on the top. My mum's going to go, oh, you should have wiped it. But yeah, limited to 1 of 3. There's only 3 in existence. And I bought that with my 18th birthday money, so 10 years ago now, off of eBay for £325. That is the most money I've ever paid for one individual model. It's my most cherished possession. With it being so rare, and it's obviously the most rarest one I own. So yeah, that one question, Roger, is answered in one foul swoop there. So thank you very much for your questions. But yeah, it's all that. It's the rarest, it's my most cherished possession, and it was my most expensive. So yeah, thank you very much, Roger. Then we come to Jamie, who answered a question, or a couple of questions, on Twitter. So he is next up. He asks, 3 more cars you love and hate. Again, Jamie, that's probably going to have to be an entire bloody video if I went into detail on that. As mentioned earlier, the cars I love are quite unique. I love Protons, I love Little Hugos, I love all the cars that no one else does, is the way I describe it. So yeah, loads of little things like that, a Rover, City Rover. A Rover Streetwise. I've got a right soft spot for a Rover Streetwise at the minute. I keep looking at one. There's one nearby, but I'll never get it. I know, because my mum and dad will not have another car on the drive. But yeah, there's loads. And as for hate, this new fucking Citroen Ami that's coming out, a range of like 43 mile. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Oh, all electric. It's a bargain. £7,600 for the cheapest version. It's made out of 2 body panels to the point where the doors open backwards. One opens that way, one opens the conventional way. Because they've just literally got this fucking flat pack form, like a set of fucking wardrobes from IKEA. Just fucking squished it together. So the front and the back looks the same. The 2 sides are identical. And for £7,500, you get 43 miles of claimed range. So you knock 10% off that, you're doing 39 mile, aren't you? Absolute piss tech. So yeah, that annoys me. That really is annoying me at the minute, and it's coming to the UK. Limited to 28 mile an hour. What the fuck? You can get a bloody Dacia Sandero brand new for £7,000. Maybe £8,000. Maybe I've gone the wrong way. So for £400 more, you can get an actual car that can actually take you places and not just nipped at shops and back in a really uncomfortable bit of plastic. Like, for fuck's sake. So yeah, that really pisses me off. As for other cars, I wouldn't know really where to go on them, but all electric cars piss me off. So it'd probably be that kind of gripe. Question 2. Do you plan to do a motoring channel with the RX-8 at all, given your videos at meets? Oh, I know. I set up the motoring Yorkshireman, didn't I, the channel, and then COVID happened. And I've literally not got back into it. And I think, do you know what? It'd be so difficult to get started again in terms of putting a new channel out that's got just car content. Because as much as I do, it looks like I do a lot, I don't do that much of it to make a video out of it and make a full-on, thing about it. And obviously, circumstances have changed now where I work and with work and etc. So that means I've not got as much cash flow to be able to go to see people, to test drive their cars and do reviews of theirs. Go to more car shows, of course, with the cost of living going up and the petrol prices, etc. So it's all kind of a mothball effect into why it hasn't happened. And sometimes it's not an excuse, but I do feel that had we not had COVID, that channel was definitely going to get started because the Sinclair videos were going to go on there. I'd got the couple of videos that I put up on this channel during COVID about the 5 things I love and hate about my cars. That was supposed to go onto the other channel, but obviously I didn't want to put them just onto a channel that had no other content on there, and I couldn't add to it. So yeah, an unfortunate set of circumstances as to why that channel was never fully born. And it'll be very difficult for me to get into it now. But thank you very much for your question, Jamie. And if something comes in the future where I can suddenly do a lot more stuff car related, a lot more often, then by all means, I'll absolutely do it in a heartbeat because I love cars. And the last question is, thoughts on MG Rover? I like MG. I really do like MG Rover. I don't like this new stuff that's come out now, although if someone offered me an MG3, I would have it. But all the electric stuff's all bollocks. But I do appreciate them that they're cheaper and 90% cheaper than all the other bollocks that's out there that's electric. So it proves you can do it cheaply. But yeah, I have a soft spot for MG ZSs I love, MG ZRs. I love the MG Metros, all that kind of vibe. So yeah, absolutely love them. So yeah, cheers for the question there. The next question comes from Matthew Briggs, and he says, my first question is, how is work and life in general going? Of course, we've already covered that. I'm now a full-time carer for my nan. Life in general is going absolutely fantastically. Can't complain about a thing. Sometimes I do appreciate how lucky I am at times to be able to see friends as often as I do, to be able to do the things I do, to go to as many concerts, to go to as many car shows, to meet as many people, to socialise, interact. And to be honest, I am just making up for lost time for those 2 fucking wasted years that we had with COVID. Because life's too short to worry about things. I'm spending all my money just on enjoying myself, and when it's gone, hasn't it? What is the point in worrying about things? You can't worry of something you can't control. That is my motto in life. There is no point panicking because everyone's going to be in the same situation with these petrol prices. They're on about road tax going up again. All these energy bills, etc. I mean, thankfully I don't have to pay for the energy bills. It's my parents that cover that. And do you know what? I feel sorry for a lot of families, and I feel sorry for the families that are struggling. But at the end of the day, if you stop paying your bills because you can't afford them, if everyone stopped paying the bills, they can't take you all to court, they can't take you all to prison. Who's suffering then? They legally, by law, can't shut you off either. They can't cut your gas and electric off by law, so you can just have it for free. What is the point in worrying about things? Literally, I know there's things that you've got to worry about, and especially when you've got kids, mortgage, family, car to pay for, etc. Life does catch up on you a lot, and you do struggle. I totally appreciate that and accept that, but please just have time for yourself. Doing that 6 hours of overtime, not fucking worth it at work. You're just a number. I don't care what people say, how loved you are at the place, etc. You said you were leaving tomorrow, they'll quickly replace you. Sometimes just think about family, think about yourself, make sure you have time for you, is my motto for life. And I'm thankful that I've got all the time in the world that I could possibly want at the moment. And I urge other people to just stand up for themselves at times. If you're feeling a little bit Like, you're feeling a bit shit, you're feeling a bit down, just do something you enjoy. Whether that means you've got to take a day off work unpaid, or you ring in sick and lie to them, they're not bothered. You're only a number. There's no point slogging your tits off for some guy to get richer. Fuck 'em, is what I say. So if you have to ring up, have a sick day, and you fancy a day out golf course, you enjoy yourself golf course, ring up, say, I've got mental health, have a week off, get a sick note for doctors, you go on holiday somewhere, just enjoy yourself. Really do enjoy yourself. Life's too short to be worrying. So, yeah, there you go. Sorry, Matthew, that turned into a massive rant there, but there you go. I hope that just inspires people to just stop fucking working for the man, as we all say, and just, you know, do it for yourself. Do something you enjoy and stop moping about and stop worrying about things. Just take yourself away from that situation and you'll feel 100 times better. Second question, which was your favourite and least favourite F1 season between 2010 and 2020? My most favourite, which was my favourite season? Which was my favourite season between 2010 and 2020? Do you know what? I genuinely quite like 2010, and I really wanted Mark Webber to win the championship that year. 2012 was a banger. I'm probably going to have to go 2012 actually now I've thought about it. That was a great season, wasn't it, 2012? Yeah, I'm going to go 2012. That was a cracking season, that one. Least favourite, I'm probably going to go 2020. Because that was boring as fuck. And we had we had all the different calendar, and it was all a bit jumbled up, wasn't it? And we were still in lockdowns, and I just don't want to be taken back to them times again. I don't want to be reminded about them. We had multiple races at same circuits, etc. And I know it was all to keep the show going, and I totally appreciate and respect that. But yeah, 2020 was probably the dullest, I would say. And no spectators at the circuits, etc. It was all a bit flat, wasn't it? Third one is, which of these paid drivers is your favourite? Ericsson, Gutierrez, Palmer, Latifi or Maldonado? Easy peasy chocolate squeezy, Marcus Ericsson. I genuinely, and I always say this now and maintain it, 2018 was probably his best season in Formula 1. It was just a shame it came when he had Leclerc as his teammate. He fully deserved to stay in Formula 1, absolutely. The others get in the bin as far as I can tell. Not really interested. Maldonado was funny though, wasn't he? But not funny for the guys that were constantly having to repair his car. So thank you for your questions, Matthew. Albon 007 asks, where do you get your diecast from, and have you ever thought about collecting half-scale helmets? Thanks. Where do I get my diecast from? Mainly because I've been collecting so long, I have a supplier now that I know directly that delivers me the new cars every year. But where I used to get them before I had that link was on a website called CK Models based in Germany. Do a lot of models there. If you're based in the UK, you do have to pay import taxes, etc. now. And I think there's a minimum order of €100 or something before they'll even ship them out to you now because of Brexit. That's what I use. For older models, eBay. You can't go wrong with eBay. You can get some great bargains on bidding as well. There's still plenty of bargains to be had out there because the marketplace is flooded with them on eBay. Alternatively, you can drop on them on Facebook Marketplace sometimes if you're prepared to go and pick them up if they're local to you. If there's someone clearing out a house that tends to sell them for like £5-10, you can get some good bargains there. Have I ever thought about collecting half-scale helmets? Yes, I have, but where on earth would I put them? I've got no room, so it'd have to be, no, I can't collect them. But thank you very much for your questions, I hope that helps. F1 Games PlayStation, Mr. Dave, here he is everyone, hold the applause. Question 1, do you think YouTube rewards conformity over originality? Yes, I would say so. Providing you keep ticking the YouTube algorithm's boxes, you will keep earning money. YouTube will keep making money off of you. The only way I would say originality comes into it is if a big YouTuber does something first. So like, I spent £100 million on an island. If you then copied that, then that would boost that algorithm, if that made sense. So you did something similar on your channel, and it goes like, spreads like wildfire, doesn't it? This, how much is the? They had a thing, weren't they, where they were buying safes at one point. Like, oh, I bought this safe at auction. How much is going to be inside it? Can we cut it open? I remember that was viral a few years back, and it takes one person to be original on YouTube, but if you continue to be original then after, you're going to struggle. So you need to conform then with what everyone else is doing to get yourself up the algorithm, to get yourself a hit, to get yourself famous, to get yourself money, popular, etc. And to keep yourself up there as well. So once you do one video like that, you've got to do it again, like when they were buying these Amazon returns products. I only spent $1,000, let's see how much we can get back. They're all fake, but that's what it's all about, isn't it? That's YouTube. So yeah, conformity is there's a direct set of skills that you need to fit and tick YouTube's boxes, and then when you're on that pedestal, then you can be like Jake Paul and you can have someone that's hung themselves and you've got them in a video, and it's only the backlash of the people that then make YouTube take that video down. And you know, that proves that money, YouTube, greed, money, all that bollocks. Question 2. Since COVID, does everyone now seem obsessed with the next disaster? Fuel crisis, cost of living crisis, climate emergency, threat of nuclear war? And are the news outlets just feeding off this fear? Absolutely, Dave. I mean, I wasn't going to touch on it with Robbie's question because that's where he was going with it all, but here we are. Yeah, absolutely. Since COVID, everyone's got suckered into just watching the news because that's all we did for 2 years. Took their word as gospel, and now they are spitting utter shit out. Every time I catch a glimpse of it, like I was saying, I've not watched the news all year, but that doesn't mean I can't not flick and sometimes catch it. And the fucking shit that they're spouting at the minute, this climate fucking change and all this bollocks, and no, it's not happening. Not fucking happening. I don't care what anyone says. Climate change isn't happening. You know, it does my head in. Absolutely does my head in. All these water droughts. Right, we're having water droughts because they don't dredge the chuffing reservoirs. There was a scientist that actually was on TV about 2 weeks ago, and he was publicly shamed and was struck off for saying that this drought is because we're not dredging water. It worked his calculations out that for every year a lake is not dredged, a reservoir is not dredged, you lose approximately 800,000 cubic litres of water in that reservoir because of silt and sediments and everything that comes through with the natural running springs, streams, etc. that flow into the reservoir. And he was saying like some of them haven't been dredged for over 25 years. So right, okay, so you've got a reservoir there that's losing 800,000 cubic litres of water every year for 25 years because it's not been dredged. Of course it's going to run out sooner because there's less capacity. Nothing to do with climate change. So there you go, that annoys me. Although it has been hot. It has been hot. But last week they were saying climate change. Last week was summer. That 39-degree heat wave we had for that one day, yeah, that was abnormal. That was abnormal. But last week was beautiful summer, British summertime. That's all that was. But yet, no, hosepipe bands, we need to pack this in. Here's a red map and we're all on fire. Fuck off. Fuck off, can't be dealing with you. So yeah, turn off the news, turn off all the shit and just do what you want to do. Question 3. You have been elected Prime Minister of Great Britain. What's the first big policy decision you would make? First big policy decision I would make once I'm Prime Minister, I would totally get rid of the World Economic Forum. I would disassociate myself with all of those lot. I wouldn't be part of that. I'd be cutting all ties with that. I would be trying to sort out all this Brexit mess because it's still not sorted. It's still not sorted at all. And I'd try and rebuild bridges back there so we're not as shafted as we are. I mean, it never fucking worked, did it? I don't know what people were thinking. But again, that was just fucking idiots. But yeah, so, you know, like I wouldn't say I would go back on Brexit because the vote people spoke, didn't they? But I would certainly get rid of the World Economic Forum. I would disassociate myself with those, and I would say, no, thank you very much. I'm not signing up to that bollocks. You can all go away. Not dealing with you. I would start to sort it all out in terms of doing things in Britain again rather than getting it all from overseas and China. I'd sort all that out. I'd get some massive infrastructure and some massive money and backing in place to get independent businesses up and running again. And I would tax the fucking oil companies and the supermarkets and Amazon because they pay nothing. And yet we're in this emergency. Oh God, we're in a recession. Well, get the big companies to pay the tax. Oh no, wait, you don't pay the tax and you don't let them pay their tax because you've got shares and investments in them. Oh, isn't that ironic? that'd all pack it in. I won't have any shares in any of them. You pay your money, not beds. Thank you very much, Dave. That got me riled. Next up is C32 Scotland, a great guy, always in and around the comment section of A Cruel Room. And he asks, I've only got 2 questions, so here we go. What's your favourite PlayStation 2 game? Simpsons Hit and Run, without a shadow of a doubt. Played that game to death back when it first came out. I still play it to death now. In fact, I completed it at the start of this year again. I went through all the missions and did them all again, so I'm probably overdue another go on that. Adore it. Absolutely adore that game. That will be one of my all-time greatest ever games ever. What is the worst movie you've ever watched? Worst movie I've ever watched has to be that... go on. What did I go and see at the cinema? That Halloween one. I know it's meant to be that with the Michael thingy with the mask on that keeps going around killing people. I watched it last Halloween with a couple of mates. And I genuinely thought it was being shit on purpose. Like, it was that bad, the acting was that wooden. And then I found out I had like a $14, $15 million budget. And I'm like, well, that's not small. It's not the world's biggest budget, I know, when proper Hollywood actors and hit movies are like hundreds of millions. But I thought it had a bigger budget to be more respectable than what it was. It was fucking awful. I actually got out at the end of when the credits came up and it finished. I turned to my mates and I was like, "Was that shit on purpose?" And the entire cinema around me that heard me started laughing because I think they all felt the same thing. Yeah, failing that, there's plenty of shit stuff I've seen. Driven, not a great film, is it? But yeah, thank you very much for your question. Dan Mushy, the miracle worker that is Dan Mushy Gaming, that saved the Cruel Room series and this channel for a couple of weeks. Hopefully he doesn't need to bail me out ever again, but I massively appreciate your help, bud. He was saying about how happy to volunteer to help and sort out any issues. Thank you very much. Massively appreciate you. He said, didn't have any questions, then he says, okay, I lied. Why was I cursed with being so vertically challenged? I don't know. Genes, something like that, genetics. I'll put it down to that. That sounds posh, doesn't it? That's sciencey. But there you go. Cheers, Dan. Spec Minus says, I've got a couple of questions. Again, Spec Minus, a long-time follower of the channel and massively appreciated. He says, I have purchased F1 2021 a few days ago and £15 still feels like a rip-off. If Codemasters had the F1 license taken from them, who would you want to see develop the F1 games? Ooh, who would I want to see develop the F1 games? I mean, there's only really big things left now, isn't there? That's the trouble, because they've all got the monopoly. The guys that do the Milestone, is that what they're called? Milestone, that used to do the World Superbike games. I thought those were really good. And they still dabble with the WRC games. The graphics, I admit, for the generation of console we're on, aren't amazing on those kind of things, but I think they do a very respectful job in terms of handling, damage models, physics, the nitty-gritty stuff that you need to do. So if I'm gonna go for a small independent company, I've got to go Milestone. I mean, it's probably not small and independent, and probably owned by EA now, but yeah, definitely we'll give it to someone like that have proven track record in making the World Superbike games really good. And the WRC games, some people hated them. I personally really enjoyed them. So there you go. Second question is, do you have a favourite Stereophonics album? I have 2 that I wouldn't be able to pick between. So Performance and Cocktails, which was their second ever album that came out in the late 90s, 98 I think. And then their 2017 album, Scream Above the Sounds, an unbelievable album. Not that well known because it was after the... You know how bands tend to fade away, and then I say fade away, they still manage to sell out arenas, 20,000 people every night when they do the tours, so it isn't if they're faded away, but you know how everyone always remembers the early stuff. Well, 2017 Scream Above the Sounds album opens up with Caught by the Wind, absolutely impeccable, Taken a Tumble, Geronimo, What's All This Fuss All About, All in One Night, Elevators on there, one of my all-time favourite Stereophonic songs ever on there, Would You Believe. It's a cracking album that is really hit after hit, so nice, and it flows between like high adrenaline dush 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 to slow storylines of All of One Night. A really good album, that one, and that's why I couldn't pick between them, because Performance and Cocktails is probably one of the greatest albums from the 90s. Absolutely adore it. I love every song on it. I've been lucky enough to hear every single song of that album live, which is incredibly rare. You know, so it's a cracking album and will stand the test of time. And a lesser known album, Scream of the Blood Sounds, an absolute banger. Thank you very much for your questions, Spec Minus Knee Puts. Thanks a lot for all the laughs, mate. I really appreciate it. Cheers, as always, buddy. And then last, but by no means least, is Lee Watts. Right, his first question is, do you think the rejects of 2018 F1 season, such as Van Dorn, Ericsson, Hartley and Sorokin, deserve another shot in F1? Do they deserve a race seat over some drivers in this season? Yes, absolutely, I completely agree. Sorokin, time and time again, I keep saying about Sorokin, I was massively judgmental of him and got him completely wrong at the start of the year. Of the 2018 season, I was just slagging him off and saying he was shit, and it turns out he was actually really good. I enjoyed him at the end, towards the end of the year, and I wish I'd have not been so harsh on him on the cruel walls all those years ago. He certainly deserves it. Do you know what? The way I would do it, in all fairness now, but looking at these drivers, I would put them all in. So Sorokin, I would stick back in Williams. Albon and Sorokin at Williams. I'd have Hartley at AlphaTauri alongside Gasly. I'd get rid of Tsunoda. Ericsson, I would put in Aston Martin and I would get rid of Lance Stroll. And Van Dorn, I would give him another shot at McLaren and get rid of Daniel Ricciardo. If I could have it my way now and replace the drivers, that's how I would do it. You know, I think they all deserve another chance again. Van Dorn did a cracking job. In McLaren, turns out, as we all found out a couple of years later, the disparity of that McLaren alongside Alonso was just unacceptably bad. And he didn't get a fair shot, but doing very well in Formula E now. And I know people say it's a rejects championship, blah, 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 blah. But I personally enjoy Formula E, and I think Van Dorn fully deserves that title. So congrats to him for that. And yeah, that would be what I would do. I would replace those four drivers, get rid of Yuki for Hartley, put Latifi out, put Sorokin in, Ericsson alongside Alonso at Aston Martin or Vettel at the moment. And then Van Dorn alongside Lando. That's how I would do it. Thank you very much for that question. His next question is, what do you think of the quality of drivers in F1 nowadays? Is it better or worse than it was in the 2000s or 10s? It's definitely better, isn't it? It's definitely better. I mean, even though we're talking about rejects in like the terms of Latifi, you know, he's not a reject compared to like a few years ago where you had the likes of Tosso Rossi. You had the likes of Jean-Denis Delatraz getting lapped after 7 laps and then pulling out because he's got cramp and he's that unfit, and Bertrand Gachot and Andrea Montemini, and you had all the rejects of the early even like the 2000s where you had like the likes of Roy Nissani's dad doing a practice session in Minardi, Narain Carter-Kayan. You know, they left a lot to be desired on the grid of earlier on in the years. In the early 2000s, there were still a lot of pay drivers. Pedro Diniz, it was respectable in some races, I suppose. Alex Young in the Minardi, terrible, absolutely diabolical. So, you know, I think the standard of driver has had to improve because the cars are probably 10 times more physical than they were then 10, 20 years ago. They require a lot more intelligence to be able to drive them because it's not just going in and putting your foot on the loud pedal. You've got to think about it. You've got to manage things. You've got all these electrical systems. You've got DRS. You've got ERS. You've got everything. So, yeah, the standard of driving has massively improved in Formula One. The level of calibre. You've got the bottom rate Latifi there, but he is massively better than what a lot of drivers were at the back of the grid just a few years ago. So yeah, massively improved. His third and final question, and the last question of this video, is since you have done a rant video about the Codemasters games back in 2016, now I'd like to hear your opinions about the games since F1 2017. Were the games improved from the PS3 era, or they went worse, or did they go worse? Difficult one, really, because I've not played the games as much as I used to back then, but I would say they've got better. 2014, 2015 were diabolical, 2013 was shite, 2011 was shite, so that's the PS3 era sorted. The PS4 era, 2016 onwards, 2017 I smashed up, we all know that. 2018 was, 2019 I thought was decent, 2020 was good, 21 the handling model, but I think overall there were a lot better, like a more complete package, I would say. So they seem more rounded and more finished off on the new generation console, so I do think they've got better in that respect, but sometimes they've just not been my cup of tea, and I prefer still to always go back to the older games of the F1 2010, F1 Championship Edition, things like that. So yeah, so I do think they've got better overall, actually, since my rant. But sometimes they've improved things for a lot of people, but some things just don't fit for me, if that makes sense. Well, thank you all so much for asking all those wonderful questions. I massively appreciate it. There's been far too many there. I've actually been talking for about an hour and 40 minutes, so I don't know what I'm going to edit this down, so how many parts it's going to be in, but I'm sure I'll let you all know. So thank you so much for your questions. Massively appreciate it. Long may this interaction continue, and I look forward to seeing you for another future video soon. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and as always, much love.